I hate having this, and I would like to hear how others have overcome this. Story 1. I am still not totally over that feeling entirely, but the event that made me better at not feeling so inadequate was the time I overcame my extreme fear of going for a girl way out of my league and just went for it. She had been my friend for years, so everyone online would have probably laughed at me and said it was a classic friend zone situation and I was a sucker and it would never work and blah blah blah. But I gathered my strength and went for it anyway. I wrote her a letter telling her I thought she was amazing and how I felt about her. I gave her space for a while, then invited her to a dinner and she accepted. We ended up dating for a couple of years. Still have not regretted it, even though we are no longer together. After it worked once, I now realize there is always that chance with anyone if I just confidently go for it. I have also been rejected, and I can tell you the pain of rejection will not be near the pain of agonizing over your feelings for months and not making a move. Also, never be that guy who is constantly telling your crush or girlfriend that they are too good for you. Compliment them without tearing yourself down. There is never a bigger turnoff to a girl than a guy who is constantly self-loathing. It makes it seem like you are needy and seeking compliments from them. Story 2. There was once when I picked up a friend to go backpacking and his wife's sister answered the door. I was hit by a wave of sadness. I was overwhelmed by the thought that I could never have someone that beautiful in my life. This is the only time I've ever felt that way, and it was completely jarring. This impossibly beautiful woman gets a job working with me, so I flirt a little and it's working somehow. One of the most beautiful people I've ever seen is interested in me. This is impossible. But there's a problem. I can't stand it when she talks. There's no kind way to say it. She was dumb as a stump, but she was also someone I had to rely on at work. Her intensely bad decisions became my huge problems. She blatantly refused to help repair the awful positions she put people in due to her willful negligence. She went from being one of the most attractive people I've seen to one of the least attractive people I've ever met, which kind of helped. It shattered some of the ideas that I didn't know I had about putting people on pedestals. I've dated other women who expressly told me that I wasn't good enough for them. That flipped a switch in me too. If someone doesn't want me, then I don't want them. It feels surprisingly bad to be used as a placeholder until someone better comes along, even when you are both open with it and are okay with using each other. So I guess that's my answer. I've learned that there's no such thing as pedestals and I don't have room for people who don't have room for me. Story 3. It's not your decision to make. She decides if you are good enough for her, and you decide if she is good enough for you. Judging preemptively just loses you opportunities. Story 4. When I was young and stupid, I let her get away. I still regret it to this day, almost 15 years later. Now that I'm not so young and stupid, I take a hard look at myself and determine exactly what it is about me that isn't good enough and make positive changes to address that. Change behaviors with discipline to become who you want and need to be. Story 5. I actually managed to get that girl. It didn't last, and yeah, I still maintain that she was far too good for me in every aspect. Absolute angel of a woman. Story 6. There's two sides to this. On one hand, until you talk to someone, you have no idea whether they see something genuinely special in you and may be attracted to whatever unique blend of qualities you have. You may perceive yourself as not good enough, but she may feel the same insecurity thinking about you. On the other hand, as much as people feel the need to deny it, social hierarchies exist. Whether it's looks, social status, career trajectory, and so on, men and women who get together usually aren't too far off from each other in those realms. If you have a real reason to believe you're below her in these respects, if anything, it should be motivation to improve yourself until you're at or above her level. There's no reason to live your whole life less than what you can be. Story 7. It can still come back into my mind from time to time, but a couple of years ago, a really attractive guy was talking with me about a girl, and he was saying how he wouldn't ask her out because he isn't good enough for her. Then, a couple of months later, I was talking to a girl, a different girl, that I found very attractive and found out she's never been asked out. I realized that the two things were connected and figured I might not be good enough, but if no one else asks, I've got a good shot. Story 8. I used to be friends with a girl who, by all standards, was light years out of my league. Many years ago, she invited me to dinner, paid for it, then invited me back to her apartment to watch a movie. It was such a foregone conclusion that she was too good for me that I actually declined the movie in favor of going out drinking with my buddies. The fact that we weren't going to be watching much of that movie would have been a laughable concept at the time. We fell out of touch shortly after. Then, about 8 to 10 years later, we reconnected through social media and agreed to meet up. She still looked how she looked, better even. I still looked like I looked, and I still felt horribly inadequate around her, despite how much she enjoyed being around me. We hung out a lot. A lot. But it never went to the next level because I was so sure I would be laughed out of the building if I ever made a move. Again, we fell out of touch shortly after, and haven't spoken since. Except this time, I learned the reason. A mutual friend, not the whole time, someone I met later that knows her, said that I was her one that got away. She said that it got to be so hard for her to be around me without me reciprocating her feelings that she had to let me go. She's in a relationship now, seemingly happy. Still haven't talked to her. But man, that blew me away. Long story, already too long, take the shot. You never know what someone else values. She wasn't looking for some gorgeous dude to just go around and be gorgeous with. She wanted someone who didn't treat her like just a trophy. She wanted to connect with someone who saw through that and let her be her true self. And someone who made her laugh constantly. I did that without even knowing. And now I'm on here telling you all about it. Happy New Year. Story 9. I married that woman, and we've been together for almost 13 years. I still ask myself that question every day, but she's still here, and I'm most likely an idiot. At some point, you have to understand that others see you differently from the outside and then you see yourself from the inside out. Story 10. An attractive woman may only be attractive on the outside. A woman I have feelings for is much harder to deal with. As for me to have feelings for her, she has to be nice inside. I just tell myself she deserves better and get on with my life. Story 11. This is something I dealt with this year. I had a crush on this girl for the past 5 years, and she also liked me back, but I never had the courage to confess my feelings for her. I had an inferiority complex, low self-esteem, and imposter syndrome back then, and always thought I didn't deserve to be with her and that she deserved someone better. In 2019, I decided to get my act together and deal with all these insecurities. I realized that if I say she deserves better, then I'm making a decision on her behalf. Who am I to decide what she deserves and what I don't? I have low self-worth, so why should I listen to myself? If she deserves better, then I will become better. I got my act together and finally decided to confess my feelings this year. I told her how I felt, and she also had the same feelings. We started dating. Here's what I didn't think of. Just because I think highly of her doesn't mean she does too. She had way more insecurities than me. Self-worth issues, anxiety, low self-esteem, the whole pack. I tried to make it work, but the truth is you can't help people if they're not willing to work on themselves. She broke up with me and then immediately wanted to get back together. I did too, so I ignored all the red flags. It went well for a while, but then again, her insecurities came in the way. She felt like I was taking pity on her. No matter how much I tried to reassure her, she didn't listen. So in the end, she broke up with me again. The thing is, if you can't love yourself, you can't accept my love or give me yours. I know loving yourself is hard, but it doesn't have to be. Ignore what your brain thinks of you. What does it know? You decide what you're worth. I don't hold a grudge against her or anything. This relationship taught me that everyone is fighting their own battles. No matter how perfect they seem to you, everyone is dealing with some problem or another. High self-esteem, confidence, and all those other positive qualities that we think are the norm are actually the exception. Low self-esteem, anxiety, and self-worth issues are the norm. Work on yourself. If you fail, then forgive yourself. Be kind to yourself. Get back up, work on yourself again. You've been criticizing yourself for years, and it hasn't worked. Try accepting yourself and see what happens. Who are you to decide you're not good enough? It's going to take as long as it's going to take, but eventually you will become a person that you could be proud of. The cure to self-sabotage is to anchor yourself to the universal truth that you are worth it. You are worth the effort. You are worth the difficulty. You are worth the time. You are worth the consideration. There is never a point in your life, in time itself, that you are not worth it. Return to this truth when you feel yourself slipping. Do not let it go. Story 12. I'm a pretty average guy with pretty average looks, and I always felt that there were some girls just plain out of my league. No hard feelings, just a fact. But that actually changed last year. Two separate girls from my rock gym, who I both thought were out of my league, later confessed to liking me after we had a chance to hang out in a group a few times. I was in a relationship the whole time, so nothing ever came from it, and possibly was the cause for the attraction, but it showed me that these league limits are totally self-imposed. Your sense of humor, personality, and other intangibles can go a long way to bridging that perceived gap between you two. My advice is to just drop the mindset and give it a shot. The real trick is to have these women get to know you outside of a basic pickup line environment. How you meet is half the battle. Story 13. You have those feelings because you pin your validation on her. You put her on the pedestal the very second you think, I'm not good enough for her. You are so much more than just a fleeting compliment or glance from a woman. The reason everyone likes men like Don Draper from Mad Men is because they go ahead and do what they want without waiting for someone to tell them. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Yes, she might have the looks, but they will fade with time. Get into the mindset of maybe she's just not good enough for me, with all that I bring to the table. Tackle things from that perspective, and let her say what she thinks. Don't lose the battle within yourself. Story 14. Look in the mirror every morning and say, "You handsome bastard." Taught to me by an elderly colleague who did this every morning after getting out of his work gear. We worked the early shift. Takes a few months, but then you start to believe it. Women like confidence and humor more than looks. At least that's what my knockout of a wife tells me. But she also tells me to cut my hair, shave, and dress better so your mileage may vary. By the way, you're welcome to use your name instead of mine. It might work even better. Story 15. That feeling actually has a name. It is called imposter syndrome. It is the feeling of not being adequate for what you have to be. I think it is a constant companion of every person in their life. You just learn to live with it and not listen to that voice in your head. Surely, beating that voice in your head a few times will make it easier. But until then, it is just a form of fear of the dark. My antidote used to be repeating to myself that you miss all the shots you don't take, and that they cannot eat you. Story 16. I casually look, admire, and move on. I have realistic expectations regarding my level of physical compatibility with someone, and it's okay to just browse without having to take a shot. Pretty people are fun to look at, but that's about it if there's nothing else there. Story 17. I'm not good enough for her. Nobody is not good enough or too good for anyone else. Be yourself around her. If it works out and you start dating, great. If it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means she didn't want to date you. If you feel like being yourself isn't good enough for anyone, that's a different discussion. Story 18. As I often tell my husband, you don't get to decide if you're good enough for a woman. She will choose you or not. If you're chosen, you're enough, more than enough. Just don't go being a jerk in unpleasant ways and you'll be all right. You would be surprised at what being a kind, caring, and decent human is worth. Every human, man or woman, has their hang-ups about themselves. I'm annoying a lot of the time on purpose when I'm bored. I struggle with housework. I can be a stubborn and spiteful person, too headstrong, and still somehow my husband thinks he is the lucky one. I have differing opinions, and I'm very lucky too. He's still here tolerating me 18 years later. Story 19. I used to have that thought so often. Working out has really helped. Even though I'm not much bigger, I just feel consistently better from all the nice hormones that kick in when you work out. Pursuing interests and having hobbies helps too. It makes you feel like you have something to bring to the table. If you have any really good friends, you could try bringing this up to them too. Ask them if there's anything they like about you, and they'll cheer you up. Hearing someone say something good about you is really reassuring. Good luck, man. Story 20. I haven't had that feeling in a long time. I know I am good enough. I despair more that she has already got her defenses up because a lifetime of men drooling over her since she turned 12, or that circumstances will not bring us together in a meaningful way. Story 21. So, I don't know if this can help, but I am a woman and I have read too many comments in which boys berate themselves or just overall bring themselves down. Personally, I know that honesty is always a good thing and that trying is better than living in doubt. Keep in mind that if you are sweet, kind, and smart, you have all your chances, and when it comes to physical attraction, this is purely subjective. I had a boyfriend who felt very self-conscious about his looks and found himself to not be attractive, but I found him really stunning. Seriously, it is not because you feel bad about yourself that the girl you like will think the same, and you should try anyway. In the worst-case scenario, she will refuse, and in the best case, something may arise. The only thing is to know how to take a refusal if she were to refuse.